Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to take some time away from the usual chapter discussions, and I want to switch gears to talk about Sarada Uchiha's character, because recent events in universe have added to what I strongly believe is yet another reason for why we as a community should be giving a much greater appreciation to her character and the path that she is taking in the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story. Because just being blunt, if Sarada's character in part 1 was centered around the concept of love, right now in part 2 it is being built upon by introducing the element of sacrifice to her character, and really and truly is building on the element of sacrifice to a character that we saw in part 1, making her character about the complexity of love and sacrifice. Grab those ramen bowls for this newest Naruto Explain video slash kinda sorta video essay where we take a deeper dive into Sarada Uchiha's character in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. I think most of us would agree that right now Sarada is based on how her character ended at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, where it was placed in that unenviable position of being loyal to her friend and loyal to her father, Boruto and Sasuke respectively, but also trying to do what was best for her village by helping Boruto escape, because he was wrongfully being convicted of killing Naruto, and she knew the real threat inside the village was Kawaki. Yet as time passed on and people stopped questioning the effects of omnipotence, Sarada became the lone voice constantly speaking up for Boruto the last 3 years, passing out photos of Boruto, holding photos of Naruto with baby Boruto, pointing out that Kawaki's a cyborg and that Naruto's son shouldn't be a cyborg. She was pointing out that Naruto's kids should have Momoshiki's chakra and not Ishiki's chakra. Yet it all fell on deaf ears at the end of the day, and it placed her from having a few people support her in her quest to be the first Uchiha to ever be Hokage to now being a long shot for the position because of her staunch defense of Boruto and Sasuke, the two traitors of the Hidden Leaf Village. For Sarada, it makes sense when you look deeper into her character and how much she loves Boruto and Sasuke, and why she is willing to sacrifice her dream as Hokage if it means doing the very thing that Naruto himself would have done, which is put his dream in jeopardy if it means saving a friend. She's continuously been shown as selfless when it comes to those that she loves, and it goes as far back as the versus Momoshiki arc, and really and truly as far back as Naruto Gaiden, as we'll discuss later, where in the versus Momoshiki arc she now knew and understood what the important role her father played in the safety of the village was, why he wasn't in his home as often, and she saw how Sasuke's impact on Boruto was changing Boruto, making him into someone who was putting in serious effort into training, when before everything came super easy to him. He didn't have to work as hard as others. He was a generational talent, enough so that she spied on him from the distance for the first time since she did back in Naruto chapter 700, taking a very keen interest in her childhood friend, whereas before she only watched him do those things for Naruto's attention, so now she was watching him do those things for her father's attention. Boruto wasn't the only one that was preparing for the Chunin exams. She had every right to want and expect Sasuke to help her because he was now in the village. She had a right to say, "Help me become a Chunin." After all, she was his daughter, yet she selflessly sacrificed that time because she saw that what she was looking at went well beyond herself. Yet in a very human way, she found herself slowly at times showing jealousy and curiosity and insecurity over the bond of Boruto and Sasuke, shown when she sees how strongly their bond is when they're talking privately after the Code of Sodar. However, in spite of how much she herself wanted to spend time with her father, she never gave in to the insecurity because she understood as parent and child they have a bond that runs deeper than any master and student relationship and connection, which is the whole reason she was able to break through to Sasuke to make him see reason to help Boruto to defy his very memories, because the love of father and daughter, it runs deep. Someone as emotionally intelligent as Boruto has seen the feelings that Sarada has, which is why one of the first things he tells her when he returns to the village after defeating Code is how her father's last words were about her, and that the only reason that Boruto was still alive was because of her actions, because she directly sent Sasuke to him. She put her dreams on the line for Boruto. Her passionate pleas, they made Sasuke defy logic, something that drove Momoshiki crazy because of his lack of understanding about the human heart. and she was on Sasuke's mind the day that he was defeated. He knew that whatever was going on, that Boruto and Sarada would play a role in changing the world for the better. Is why his last words to Boruto were to protect Sarada at all costs, trusting the future of his daughter with Boruto, something that is symbolized in the samurai relationship between Boruto and Sasuke, and the symbolism of Boruto picking up Sasuke's sword and later using it to protect Sarada, which I refer you to the Boruto video on Boruto's broken sword down in the description box to better understand what I mean by that. For Sarada, she being able to sacrifice her dream to go against the village, it is huge, and it builds upon what Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto wrote for a character back in 2015 via Naruto Gaiden, the 7th Hokage in the Scarlet Spring, better known as Naruto Volume 73, where Sarada found herself both the answer to what she wanted to do with life, as well as the place of belonging within her own family, which is she discovered her dream to one day become Hokage, wanting to walk into Naruto's footsteps. With all of her current decisions right now, that's what she's doing, and she found that her family bonds of love are connected on a much deeper level than she ever thought that they were, with the latter being foreshadowing for her current situation. Those bonds of love by the Uchiha family are also bonds built on the very foundation of sacrifice, very fitting for a clan that has a greater capacity for love than anyone else. Her father sacrificed time away from his family in order to protect the village, in order to protect the very family that he carried in his heart as he traveled into the unknown vast regions of the Otsutsuki dimensions. Her mother sacrificed having a traditional marriage in order to support her husband, something that her one-time rival Ino flat out says in the Boruto manga, which was not shown in the anime, that had she been the one to marry Sasuke, she wouldn't have been nowhere near as supportive as Sakura is of Sasuke. True love is understanding how to add value to your partner's life, even if it means giving up part of your own happiness, because you know that your partner is chasing something bigger than the both of you. Sasuke is basically a soldier off to war, protecting his country on an extended trip. It's hard on everyone involved, but the sense of duty goes beyond one's own duty to their family, a payoff to Sasuke, who never understood how for the longest Itachi could pick his village, pick his nation over his lover Izumi, over his clan the Uchiha, over his own family. With Sasuke, with Sarada, once she came into understanding of the roles that her family played, she didn't allow herself to get weighted down by negative feelings and emotions, which is why scenes that were never shown in the Boruto anime that we got told about in the Naruto Retsunden novel, where we see that Sasuke takes his daughter to the Uchiha Memorial to talk to her about the clan. Instead, she found a way to not make the mistake of all of her ancestors, and she channeled all of those emotions towards walking the path of one day becoming Hokage, while simultaneously being there in her own way to help Boruto, her future Shadow Hokage, and help keep him sharp during the times that she could when they were relative to each other before he got the boost of the Karma Seal. And when she did see how powerful Karma made her, it was Boruto putting the fire into Sarada to make him train harder, demand Sasuke train her briefly, and we saw how the relationship fuels one another to grow stronger. They share a common ground with Sasuke, and at times we see how her own insecurity and jealousy towards him, even admitting at times she hated Boruto because of how ungrateful he was to have a father like Naruto, to the point where she would wonder what her life would have been like if Naruto was her father instead of Sasuke. Yet she never spoke those feelings into existence for Boruto or Sasuke. She kept them buried down deep inside, because part of love, it is sacrifice. That's something that in this culture we have now, where so much about love is romanticized, we don't talk about the fact that sacrifice is a necessary component for love. Even when said sacrifice at times, it showed Sarada being lonely, yet all of that was meant to prepare her for her current burden, where she has been standing mostly alone against Konoha due to omnipotence and the effects and her being immune to it. Momoshiki once said that those who are immune to omnipotence, they will be destined to suffer. And right now, Sarada, she is suffering a lot, with Shikamaru telling her in so many words in chapter 1 that her actions, they are directly costing her the chance to be Hokage one day. But just as Momoshiki misunderstood what would drive Boruto into despair, he also doesn't quite understand that suffering for someone like Sarada right now, what she's going through in this moment, is not gonna break her. All throughout Naruto, we're told shinobi they must endure. The two things that Momoshiki does not understand are the stubborn resilience and the illogical nature of the human heart and the soul of a shinobi, with Boruto being the representation of the soul of the shinobi and Sarada being the resilience and illogical nature of the human heart. Sarada is able to stand as strong as she does because she understands the position of Boruto, not just right now with Omnipotence, but because she's noticed the repeated trend of Boruto throughout Boruto Naruto Next Generations, which is that Boruto is almost always the one who suffers, and due to the types of battles that Boruto's fighting, both physically against enemies that Sarada was too physically weak to assist in post-Boro battle, but also emotionally, where she wasn't able to comfort him due to being unaware of the true depths of despair that his fate as an Otsutsuki vessel gave him. Because you have to remember, she was in the hospital when Amato broke everything down for Konoha. It was Boruto who lost sleep at night over his fears of Momoshiki taking control. It was Boruto who lost sleep at night knowing that every waking moment and moment that he closed his eyes, a small part of his DNA, it was being rewritten by Momoshiki, and that when it hit 100%, he'd cease to exist. His soul would no longer be there, and he would only be a memory in the minds of those who he cared for until Momoshiki killed them all by harvesting a chakra fruit. There was no one there to hold Boruto at night, to tell him that things would work out for the better. Her oldest friend, he was suffering quietly, battling an enemy that a Rasengan cannot destroy, trying to outwit destiny that even a generational genius like him was unable to outsmart, and for Sarada, being unable to do anything for the boy who once vowed to be her shadow, be the shield that once protected her, it's what led to the despair of her awakening Mangekyo Sharingan, because in that moment, the whole world, it was hunting down Boruto. She understood she was about to fail Boruto, and there was nothing she could do to prevent his death. A boy who had been alone for so long because of Omnipotence after having been beloved by so many people for so long, Sarada has likely never forgotten about the fact that he was about to be killed by her father, the man who Boruto idolized, which is what led to that impassioned plea to Sasuke to make sure that Sasuke does not do the one thing she feared in that moment, where Boruto's last images would have been ones of utter heartbreak, looking up into the red eye of his sensei, the father of his best friend, as a Chidori drove through his heart, and those last things that he see would be Sasuke looking up at him, dying alone, scared, confused, and betrayed on so many different levels. Sarada wanted to avoid that for Boruto. The two of them, they are joined at the hip right now. They are very much Neo and Trinity from the Matrix, which is why in so many possible futures that Kashin Koji saw, they died together. The story, it has placed it deep in our faces that they are connected. From Naruto chapter 700, having Sarada state they have a deep connection she doesn't understand, to Boruto vowing to protect her during the versus Momoshiki arc in both the Boruto movie novel, where he makes the shadow clones to shield her from Momoshiki's attack via a primal instinctual urge to protect Sarada, who was panicked and helpless and crying, and Boruto did so knowing he couldn't protect her, but did so anyway, to the vow that he makes in both the anime and manga, where he vows to be the shadow to her Hokage, to Mitsuki telling Sarada to watch over Boruto after Kawaki tried to kill both of them, to Sasuke telling Boruto to watch over Sarada, to Kashin Koji saying at one point they were destined to die together in multiple possible futures. It's sacrifice in the name of love. That is the consistent theme here, and it is beautiful because their bond is what, as Sasuke stated, will be what's needed to see this whole situation through to the end. And I don't think enough people are given enough significance to Sasuke leaving his daughter in chapter 80 of Boruto and Naruto Next Generations and becoming a rogue ninja again. On the surface level, it's easy to say, yes, Sasuke is becoming a traitor to help Boruto, knowing everyone will hate him for assisting Naruto's murderer, Naruto, the man who was a symbol of hope in the ninja world during the war and a continued savior of the world 3 times over after the fact. But there's something more there. Sasuke left his daughter during a time where she needed him then, in that moment, more than ever before. Sarada was in despair, and she awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, the eyes that reflect the heart, and the eyes that oftentimes reflect the despair and suffering of those who awaken it. Sasuke saw those eyes and he knew that she needed him, but he also knew that if she was this passionate about Boruto being innocent, that there had to have been something larger at play. His instinct should have been to be there for his daughter now that she was someone who had such a bright soul and bright eyes looking towards a bright future, was now using those special shiny red eyes and the light that they gave off, knowing that they would eventually see the light in them be purged, and Sarada and her visions for the future will be lost in eternal darkness once she goes blind from using them too much. You know, he wanted to be there to guide her. Yet, just as Sasuke sacrificed his duty to her, Sarada sacrificed her own well-being for Boruto, which now makes you look at her dying in so many futures alongside Boruto way differently now. This is even more so the case when you realize she is likely gonna fight Kawaki at some point, and not just because of their intense stare down we had in chapter 4, but because they are positioned as being opposites on the same spectrum. Both love Naruto, both admire Naruto, but Kawaki took it extremes and took away Naruto's free will. The two people who were most impacted by Naruto, yet Sarada and her symbolism with love and sacrifice, she is the one that is closest to Naruto out the two of them, because those are two things that Naruto himself was a symbol for from the very moment his parents gave their heartfelt goodbyes to him after making him a Jinchuriki. Naruto became those very things that Sarada is carrying forward right now, even as she does so at times alone. But oftentimes, again, love requires sacrifice, and right now Sarada, she is fighting for so many different things that are pulling her towards her destiny to be Hokage, the same way this Naruto video essay is sure to pull you in with more detailed character discussions like this one, or this super in-depth video breaking down every Urza Scarlet armor and fairy tale over on my Anime Explained channel. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already.